The problem with eGPUs has always been the connection. Now, whether it's common connections or even proprietary ones, there's always been issues and compromises. But in my never-ending quest to find something that can give full performance to a desktop-class GPU, I think I have finally found something that is almost perfect. This is CopprLink, and it's the PCIe SIG big brother equivalent to OcuLink, which has been used on eGPUs before, but this gives something that another of those connections are able to offer, and that is full PCIe Gen5 by 16 connectivity support. You heard me right, PCIe Gen5 by 16 full fat connectivity over this connection, which means that theoretically, even a 5090 would not get throttled by this connection. I heard about this connection standard because of this company right here. They had reached out to us and asked if we wanted to check out their server grade enclosure that they have coming out with this CopprLink connection. And I said, oh yeah, let's get this in for testing. So this model I have right in front of me is the RocketStor 8631D. It looks like a standard eGPU enclosure that we've seen before, but it does have some interesting features because it is mainly used in the server realm. So HighPoint is not marketing this for gamers or anyone like that, but you know, I kind of wanted to put it through some tests and see if this connection type is something that we should actually be getting excited for on the consumer side. Now you can see how that CopprLink connection compares to the size of a Thunderbolt 5 connection. Let's take a look inside, and in order to get into it, you have to unscrew these 4 screws around the side and also this top thumb screw. Unfortunately, it's not the easiest eGPU to get into, so that's maybe something for future iterations to improve upon. But once those things are unscrewed, it's pretty easy to slide open. Taking a look inside, you can see that it comes with 2 pre-installed 120 millimeter fans that are bringing in fresh air and blowing it across the GPU itself. I'm going to install one in a second. You see the actual by 16 slot there. There is the other side of the CopprLink connection. And here are the power connections to the PSU itself. And this thing is very wide and very long. It'll fit some of the biggest GPUs on the market today, but also it's not just made for GPUs. You could put accelerator cards, whatever, data center kind of stuff, but for the main purposes right now, I'm gonna test it with the GPU. The included power supply is 1300 watts, and it is easy to pull out. GPU installation is easy. I already took off 2 of the slot covers, and I've got this Founders Edition RTX 5090. Let us slot in like that. I'm going to be using the pre-installed 12-volt 2x6 connection here that was included, but they do also include a dongle for other connection types. And along the other side, there is a handy little hole for releasing the PCIe in order to uninstall the GPU if you want to bring it out. That was a pretty quick look at the enclosure itself. Simple. No frills. Maybe utilitarian is the best word to describe it. No gamer aesthetics, RGB bling, whatever. This is for serious work. But you might be asking yourself, okay, well, how does this actually connect to a system? And that's where this comes in. This is the Rocket 7634D, and HighPoint is claiming this is the industry's first independent PCIe Gen5 by 16 external OcuLink adapter. It is single slot, half height, not very long, and simple to put into any system. This kind of thing is made for enterprise systems, but it really got me thinking, how could consumers actually take advantage of this? And that's when I had an idea. I thought to myself, what is the smallest mini PC that I could build that still will take a card of an external expansion card of this size? And after a lot of searching, I found a case that fits the bill. This is the Jonesbow NV10, and is a 4.5 liter mini ITX system that is very compact, but more importantly, it does have a riser card included. And look at that, plenty of room for this adapter, and it doesn't even need external power. So the last piece of the puzzle is to insert the CopprLink connection, and boy, does this thing really seat in there. That is not coming out unless you pull this extra little tab to release it. This is a serious connection. And the same thing on the mini PC side. Boom, and we're in. So in order to get the system up and running, I had to power on the eGPU before I powered on the mini PC, but the great thing about it is that it required 0 drivers. This is not Thunderbolt. You don't have to load anything proprietary. It just sees the 5090 just like it was slotted into the motherboard itself. And that is definitely sweet. So I got the eGPU set up nice and easy. So far so good. So I thought, if I'm gonna go crazy with this challenge, what CPU am I gonna pair with this with? Well, might as well pair this with a 16-core beast. Inside this machine is an AMD Ryzen 9 9950X running in eco mode. Because unfortunately, you can only fit a specific size of cooler on this thing, and I'm really starting to push the threshold of what's available. But check this out. In a small 4.5 liter setup, I have a 16-core, 32-thread CPU hooked up to a RTX 5090 at supposedly full bandwidth. So the final question is, how does it perform? In order to test it, I came up with a small benchmark run, and I ran it in this configuration, but I also did rip the guts out of this system and put it on an open-air test bench with that 5090 slotted directly in the PCIe card slot, just to make sure that it is getting full performance. So here I'm running Cinebench 2026, the GPU workload, and you can see it is firing up on the GPU itself in this setup. This is the AI image generation benchmark as part of Procyon. It's currently running the Stable Diffusion XL benchmark loop. And no, this wasn't made for gaming, but of course I had to run some gaming benchmarks on it just to see how it performed. Unfortunately, I think in a gaming scenario, the biggest downside is going to be the fact that these fans get a little loud. Inside of a data center, it doesn't really matter, but on top of your desk, next to your ears playing a game, yeah, that's going to be a problem. So the real reason I didn't do a ton of gaming on this is because it just works. It just works like no other eGPU that I've had before. It just works with gaming. Like there was not much to report, so I don't have any charts for it. I played some games and it just worked. And the numbers are very interesting. And by interesting, I mean I had to do a double take. Looking at these numbers, you can see that we are indeed getting the full performance of that 5090 in the eGPU setup. Almost. And I say almost because there were some tests in here where the eGPU setup turned in just a slight lower score compared to the test bench. And after scratching my head a little bit and working with HighPoint and making sure I had the configuration set up, I actually think I might have found the reason why some of these numbers are not quite the same in this the setup. And I think that's because the NV10 actually ships with a Gen 4 riser card, not a Gen 5. So I think we are getting a little bit of a bottleneck over that connection. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but even if that isn't an issue and we are still getting within percentage points performance-wise in this eGPU setup, this means this wipes all of the other GPUs I've ever tested off the floor. I still can't believe the level of performance we're getting out of this setup. It's something I've always wanted to get out of an eGPU solution, and it's here. We found it. It's awesome. And it was easy to use on top of that. So no drivers, no having to worry about fiddly connections or having it accidentally disconnect in the middle of your workload. This thing is a beast. It's a monster. It's awesome. But like all good things, there still is a couple downsides. The first one is that, hey, CopprLink, it's not really made for consumers. There's not a ton of consumer applications out there outside of using this external add-in card. And of course, my gaming handhelds are not going to magically adopt the CopprLink connection, especially because that thing is so big. I really don't think we'll even see it on laptops either. And those are the places where I want to see eGPU support. And the other issue is the price. Now, I'd imagine this thing is a steal at $1,300 for the enterprise customers, but for consumers, that's a large ask. But either way, I'm glad I tested this. I found an eGPU that gave full performance of the graphics card that was inside of it, and I'm still stunned. I wish I could have this unlocked on more experiences other than this mini PC setup. But don't worry, I actually do have a lot more testing of more consumer-friendly eGPUs coming up, because there is a new wave of them coming out thanks to the AI boom. So if you want to see that testing, be sure to subscribe here on PCWorld, and we'll catch you in the next one.